Well, there you first see the skill set from the athletic positions at wide receiver and running back and quarterback. You see them able to spread the football vertically, horizontally, and with the run game. You see both quarterbacks and Tua as well as Jalen able to distribute the football. So that's key. Then, from an old school point of view, you go to the offensive line, and they do a great job of playing as one. There's 5 pennies and 1 nickel. They play as a nickel. You see them at all times with fundamental thought process, technique, do a great job playing together. Oh yeah, you start with the Blitnikoff with Jerry, with Judy, and how he stretches the field. But you also look at Henry Riggs, also Devontae, who caught the great pass in the game last year, who stands out. The tight end, which you can't not overlook really both of them, but Irv is so athletic with size, Irv Smith with size, and he stretch the field too. And then a running back core, a really good group of runners that can run the football with great run after, yards after the contact, but also able to catch the football too. So a lot of depth at each position, and these offenses, you have to have that depth to be successful. So you see them, every one of them able to stretch the football, and they do a really good job of making what I call competitive plays, 50-50 balls, some people call, but each receiver, each running back can make those 50-50 plays and competitive plays. I think so, because each position can attack you, and we see some really good offenses in the Big 12. And you might see one with maybe 1 or 2 wide receivers, maybe a running back. This team has a wide receiving core, 1 and 2 deep, and with the running back position also. And then you have an orchestrator or conductor like you have with Tua and with Jalen to able to do a great job distributing the football. It makes it tough defensively. So you have to be ready to defend all parts. And again, I mentioned earlier, because they're able to stretch you vertically with speed, horizontally with screens and under routes, but also able to run the run game attack at you here, and not just base runs, but very attacking run type game. So. Yeah. Well, for me, the last 2 years, we've had to defend Baker, Mayfield, and now Kyler in practice, which gives you that quarterback attack mode. But our receiving core as well, they do a great job attacking us in practice. We have some very, very competitive practices, and Coach Riley and we do a lot of good on good, quote. And so you have to be ready to again defend our offense this way vertically, and again here. But also they have the running game that can really punish you if you're not sound. So it's a deal where you have to be ready to play both and do a great job. Hopefully, try to stay ahead. Well, the one thing I think people forget about Jalen is last year and how many games he's won at quarterback and how productive he's been at quarterback. His leadership of the team at quarterback. You have 2 quarterbacks who are exceptional, and both of them are able to lead the team. That's very rare. The starter usually, named starter usually can lead the team because he's there on a day-in, day-in basis. But now you have Jalen, who has been remarkable with his sportsmanship and team first mentality, knowing Tua was there, able to come in and still lead the team. There's no drop off in leadership. And Coach Loxley's done a great job of using both talents of each quarterback, Tua and Jalen, and take advantage of both. So, but Jalen's Jalen's leadership is well respected by all of our staff and across the country too. Well, I know there's a lot of negative narrative about our defense, and I know having been in this long, there's a lot of pride in that defensive room and the defensive meeting room, and they believe in themselves, and we've had some tough things. But one thing, what I love about this group, and I've been doing it quite a while, is that they don't flinch, whether it's a good thing happen or tough things happen. Hey, Miss Maria, how you doing? Oh yeah. Hey, sorry about that. I know you don't apologize. You see why I spoke to Miss Maria, but you have to be ready to defend it, and so it's. I love our group. I have a great, and I've been fortunate to have a great staff, a great group of coaches that have been around. Tim Kish, linebackers, Kerry Cooks, secondary, Calvin Thibodeau up front, and adding Bob Diaco into the mix as a full-time coach. Bobby and I knew each other when we were head coaches, and Bob was at UConn, and I was at East Carolina, so Bob's always had a great reputation in this business. And so I'm very fortunate to be in a room with guys that have been there, and I rely on their wisdom, and we rely on each other's togetherness. That's been great. But our group of young guys that play for us, I've been amazed at them, their resiliency. We talk about Fido, forget it and drive on. Great play happens, enjoy it, ready to move on. Tough play happens, yep, we'll adjust, but you got to be able to forget that and play next, especially facing offenses like we face. Whether you made a great play, that next play, you got to be ready to play the next one. Whether it was a tough play, all you have in that tough play, be ready to play the next one. And this group of defensive guys that we have at OU now have done that better than any group I've had. Yeah, that's been great, because we've been able to just not really have to start on our opponent, Alabama, as soon. We had a chance to go back and sort of fix ourselves a little bit, whether it was a fundamental part of our game or a schematic part of our game. Look at ourselves, grade ourselves, what was effective, what was ineffective. That helped. And then you had a chance to also get into the game plan, which has been great, but mixed with the early sign data and recruiting, which is, you're talking to an old dude, oh God, that was different, but we've adjusted. They ain't performing at a high level of the four teams in this tournament, able to be ready for that time, if used wisely, can help too.
Would you have liked to continue playing that? It seemed like after West Virginia and the Texas game, you guys did start playing better, or turning a corner at least.
Yeah, I thought we did. There was a lot of things that I was asked earlier in another interview as a play caller or defensive guy. You have to be ready to understand what you're facing. And we face it on a week-to-week basis. You face top-notch quarterbacks that can distribute the football. You see NFL wide receivers week in and week out, as well as great running backs. So they're going to make some plays. And you're a defensive play caller or defensive unit, you have to be ready to adapt and adjust to that. And I'm able to do that personally. The staff is as well, and our players are too, because they're able to. They have so many different talented kids, young players. Alabama, for example, at each position, each skill position, the wide out, tight end, and the running back, that you have to know that they can hurt you pretty quick. So you have to be ready to see what it was and then defend it. Also the same, if something good happens, understand why and how, but ready to move on to the next play, because they're coming out with the same mode of attacking. So. Well, I'm probably different than a lot because I've been around Army and Navy and had to face Air Force in my time. So as people were surprised about Army, I was not. You're talking about guys who have been trained to defend our country and to play in a game that's almost like recess to them, and well coached, and because Monken did a great job with them, and vindication not really, but understand everybody see they're really good, and they understand what they do, they follow their game plan, and in a reverse way, it's almost like the offenses. If you notice how many people touch the ball in their offense, it's called ball distribution. What's the same thing in the passing game? Ball distribution. So I was good to see Army and on an 11-win season, and proud of those guys, and I'm sure they did. I'm sure their university, their academy is too.
Coach, what was the biggest adjustment? Of course, played Texas early in the year, but you came back and you beat them in the Big 12 championship. You locked them down in the fourth quarter, of course, a tie game then. What was the biggest adjustment that you guys made from a confidence standpoint and from a scheme standpoint?
Well, failure is only failure if you don't learn from it. And even in a loss, if you're open-minded, you can learn from it, as in wins. So facing the first time, I didn't think we controlled the run game as well. But again, I mentioned with these teams that can spread it out, you got to be ready to defend the vertical stretch as well as the horizontal with the screens and those type things. So I thought we did a better job at that. I think our fundamental part of our toolbox the last 2 weeks have improved. We went back and evaluated ourselves and said, okay, what do we do earlier that was effective, and what next? And it goes back to old school, the fundamental part of it. Old school, so like Coach Dye, my coach in college, it was blocking and tackling. So went back to getting back to the tackling core, then getting off blocks and tackles. So I thought that helped a lot. But I thought the kids really played at a different mental level. A lot of kids, of our kids, were not. If you look at our defensive unit, they're really young. We have Buzzy, number 18, Curtis, who's the oldest one, but the rest of the guys are redshirt sophomores, redshirt juniors, true freshmen, true sophomores. So since that game, they've had a chance to grow up, and they've been tested under fire.
So now, when you talk about looking and breaking down film, and you watch them from week to week, because I'm sure you haven't just watched one game, you watch them in various different situations. How much does their game plan change from week to week? How many wrinkles do they throw in? Or do they say, you know what, this is what we want, and we want to see it, you have to stop it? Are there some key plays that they always come back to that you recognize about formation, personnel, or is it something new every single week?
Well, the great teams like Alabama and the great offenses, they have concepts that they like. So when I'm a whole part guy, I watch whole which games first, and then go to specific parts of the game. So I watch in games entirety once we knew we were playing Alabama in this tournament. And you see them, same concepts, different ways to get those concepts, which great offenses do. And but you still see the vertical attack, also the horizontal attack, and then the run game added to it. So you still see that, but you'll see some wrinkles added where they're able to get to those same run or pass concepts in a different way with a different look. So that's the adjusting part. Everyone I've found have concepts that they prefer, that they feel confident in, and not just as a coach, it's what the players feel is confident in. I won't run anything Saturday that our players don't want. And some people, why is that? You're the coach. Yeah, right, but the players play. I think the same is true for the offense. What Tua or Jalen feel comfortable in, Locke's been able to do it. Coach Locke's has been able to do it. And so, they've done a great job of their concepts, but also able to get to them in different ways, different looks.
Speaking of concepts, does your concept change if Tua starts or Jalen starts? Is it more men in the box against Jalen, or more of a cover two versus someone that stretches the field like Tua?
Well, I think Tua, because he does stretch the field, I think his athleticism is overlooked a lot of times. Because as watching films like you mentioned earlier, you can see him do some really good run things. Of course, Jalen is very athletic, but he's a very good quarterback. He's smart. He's able to read and progress too. I would say Jalen probably is a better runner, but Tua can run as well. Tua also can stretch the field vertically. I've got cut-ups of Jalen stretching the field vertically as well with the run game. So, they both pose problems, and the main thing is just try to keep them like my hands are doing, keep them contained as much as possible because they can stretch you here. Both of them can vertically stretch you here, and with the run game. And with Jalen, even with Tua, there's some designed run games, but designed quarterback run. But with Jalen, you could have some designed quarterback run too.
On the collegiate level, as a coordinator, it's just as important to be a psychiatrist as it is as an X and O's guy. What do you say to them in terms of players, hey, man, listen, they really happens against us. Let's suck it up. Let's move on to the next play. Have a short memory. How do you convey that to a bunch of teammates?
From day one, when the transition happened with Coach Riley and us here at OU, my whole thought process as a coach, really in life is controllables and uncontrollables. I deal only in controllables, what we can control. Some things are going to happen; those are uncontrollables. So we talked about, we call it. I'm a big acronym guy. FIDO, FIDO. Forget it and drive on. If something great happens during the game, something positive, great. We'll get it fixed. Great. Forget that, and then be ready to make the next play. If something tough happens, which in our league and in this playoff tournament we're going into, something tough could happen, probably. So you got to be ready to do it. So we began preaching that from the very beginning. And every time we see it during the game or after a game, one of our summations is to how well we handled that. This group of defenders that we have at OU, and doing it, this is my 38th year of coaching, a long time doing one thing, yeah. They do it as well as any team I've been around at any school, and able to do both. Great play, move on. Tough play, they're able to handle it. And, they've done a good job of trying to drown out the noise. A lot of people talk about that, and negative narrative. But that comes on the field. Where it's done is on the field, and, these guys have done that. And as a coordinator, my master's is in counseling. So I have to use it quite a bit. You're welcome. Thank you.
Over those last two games, is it just as simple as creating a couple turnovers that help you guys?
Well, I don't think creating turnovers are as simple as it looks.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you go back and study each game that people have talked about, from Texas Tech game, a 2-point play that helped turn that. Oklahoma State, big rivalry, the bat down to help win that game. And then the West Virginia game of touchdowns and able to get us some positive points. And then also Texas, some things that happened there. So I think it's one of those things of showing how well the kids are able to rebound is big. We've always talked turnovers. We always work turnovers on a daily basis. And, making sure the kids believe in themselves. And now it's harder with the millennials, because everything is ready on your phone. So that's the toughest part. So they've done a good job of listening to us and Coach Riley.